Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Youth Man. As you can see, I'm not in my home theater today. We're in my friend Derek's home. We're in his living room. This is about a 12-foot by 20-foot room. As you can see in our previous video, we just installed this. This is a 110-inch EluneVision ultra short throw screen. And so, man, this thing is huge. It's got beautiful backlit lighting, and so we've got a video on that. If you didn't see that video, check out the card right up here. I'll also have a link to it down in the description below. But today we're going to be looking at this LG Cinebeam. This is a laser 4K projector. This is the HU85LA 4K beautiful short throw. I'm excited about this, and we're going to talk more about where this fits kind of maybe in your space. Looking at Derek's room, this isn't a dedicated room, like a dedicated theater room like I've got at my house. This is just a standard living room, and right here you can't see it off a camera, but we've got this big massive ceiling fan right here, and so really you don't have the space to do any kind of projector. Even a short throw projector in an 8-foot ceiling living room, it's going to be pretty tough. But I think this right here is going to fit in a lot of your home kind of cinemas if you're wanting to do that in your living room. I'm super pumped, so man, enough talking, let's get to unboxing. All right, inside the box we've got our owner's manual. A remote control that's actually a lot different than most remote controls. We'll actually be talking about that a little bit later in the video. A 3-prong IEC power cable, 2 batteries for the remote, and the unit itself. Man, this thing's got some weight to it. All right, let's go ahead and get this unboxed here and get this. Check that out. On top, we've got an access door to the focus wheel. On the rear of the unit, we have 2 HDMI inputs, one being with ARC. Below that are 2 USB inputs, a USB-C for external storage, an optical digital out, a LAN connection, a coax connection for cable TV, and at the bottom left we have our power port. In this video, we're going to be talking about a brand new projection screen and an ultra short throw projector. Now, this isn't a review of it, just kind of our initial thoughts. So 2 days ago, if you saw my previous video, this is my friend Derek. We're in his home, and we'll share a little bit about that in a moment. But in his home, he's been looking at doing a short throw projector for a while. Yeah. He actually asked me a while back, Michael, if you ever get a chance to review a short throw projector, I'd love to kind of see if that would work in my space, in my home, because I don't have a dedicated room. And so when EluneVision reached out to me and asked if I wanted to review a screen, and then East Porters asked me if I wanted to be interested in reviewing the LG short throw projector, I thought that'd be a great fit. I said, I know exactly where we could go and kind of test this out in an everyday average kind of home, to be able to see, what does this look like and what does that process look like. And so this is my friend Derek. Derek, kind of tell us kind of where we're at in your home.
All right, so previously we had talked about in our other video kind of the space we're here. So we're dealing with a 12 by 20 foot room, quite a bit of light source areas, so had to use some blackout theater curtains to kind of take care of that. If you also watch the other video, you'll see that where the screen is mounted, we had to use basically cover a window. Yeah. But like I said, this is one of those things that I've always wanted to do, and when the option came up to this, obviously I had to talk to the owner of the house, who's also excited about seeing this and coming over, maybe watching a game or two. But Yeah, so pretty excited about that. We did kind of, as we went through this, we had a couple things that we ran into, just things that you wouldn't necessarily think about right away. Sure. Obviously, the screen size, we knew we were getting a 110-inch screen, but really nothing telling us where placement of the screen other than how far away from the screen it's supposed to be to get the size image. So sure. We'll kind of go into that a little bit here just a minute. So
yeah, definitely. So in kind of this video, we're just, like I said, we're going to go through just some different things that we kind of learned from this process. One of the first things, let's kind of talk about the screen first and foremost. So you came from what size screen?
It was a 50-inch screen, 4K though, but 50-inch.
Sure. So this is your first experience owning, or at least having a projection screen in your home theater. So how does this kind of compare? Just your first initial impressions going from a 50-inch screen to a 110-inch projection screen. Just kind of talk about that for a second.
Well, I can tell you, you all of a sudden start thinking about all the things you could watch and or play on there. I was flipping through sports channels and running my Xbox One X, which looks fantastic on there. Just to different movies that you are your favorite movies. Go back and watch them, and just incredible difference. It's kind of hard to say going from a 50-inch screen to 110. Sure. Like your entire wall is just glorious screen, and it's kind of fun. I'm really we've only really had it for a day, but
2 days total.
I haven't got a lot of sleep because of it, but have really enjoyed how it's turned out. Even more surprising, like waking up the first morning, really happy with my curtain purchases because it was pitch black in here, and man, it just looks great in here. I'm definitely when you're dealing with a space that one is not yours, and you just kind of work with what you've got. I'm super impressed, and I don't want to see this projector go bye.
Yeah. So we're going to have it for a little while. So this projector is just on loan. And so we've got it for probably, I don't know, maybe a month. And so we're going to be doing some kind of more extensive testing on it, kind of comparing, going through the menu and playing with some of the settings, but kind of still staying on the the screen. Some of the things that we kind of ran into in the install, one of the biggest things was the fact that they give you the white gloves, and I thought that was just kind of cool, but it's actually very functional. Apparently, with this type of screen, this is the EluneVision 8K reference screen. With this ultra short throw screen, apparently it's very delicate. In the manual, it actually says make sure you're wearing gloves. You're pretty much not supposed to touch it with your hands. I don't know if that's because of the oils in it or if you can actually damage it because there's ridges in it. Basically, I shared in the previous video with an ultra short throw screen. If you think about it, your projection screen or the projector isn't kind of shooting straight on, it's kind of shooting up at an angle. And, going back in math class, back in high school, you've got this angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. So basically the angle that it's hitting the screen, it's going to bounce and pretty much hit up at the ceiling. And so with these special screens, the ultra short throw screens, they've got these little ridges. And if you can look at this photo that Derek sent me just today, you can see all these little ridges in it. So this was just a really close photo that he took of the screen itself. And so you can see these ridges. And so that light is going to hit that and bounce back to you. And so that was interesting that, it was super delicate. When we did lay it down on the floor, that's what the instructions said. We had laid down the paper. And the paper, we noticed it did have, they were folded. So there's creases in the paper. And we did notice on the screen that there's kind of like this little, you can't notice it. Like looking at it right now, I can't see it at all. We've got a movie playing in the background, but it's only when the light hits it a certain way. You can kind of see this really faint kind of line where it kind of made an indentation. And I did check with EluneVision, and they said it should actually kind of stretch out over maybe like a week. And so we'll kind of check that out. We did have 2 corners that we didn't get those tight enough. When we originally looked at it, I think we were just excited to get it up and running.
Like, we had spent a lot of time too. It's kind of like, okay, 1, let's get this done. 2, we're hungry at that point in time. And, just obviously just excited to get it on there. And we didn't notice it really because we're holding it up and we can see the other parts of the corners and all that. We really didn't notice it until we actually got it up on there, the corners. But they've given us information on how to adjust doing that. So one of those things that you'll definitely want to pay attention while you're putting it together.
Sure.
Before putting it on there. You really want to, obviously, like it told us, check the screen for any defects before you mount it on the thing. And then I would also say, before you put any of the other, what was it, the secondary cover, the outer frame on, check it, make sure that there's no wrinkles or whatever. They did say that some of that will pull out anyway within a week or so.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and kind of see that.
I think we're probably going to need to adjust that a little bit. And so, again, what's nice, the way that this mounts, which I really like, it's almost like, I guess they call it is it a cleat? Where it kind of latches on.
I'd say that's probably
I don't know the actual term for it, but basically the mounting hardware, it literally just kind of hangs on it, and so we literally can lift up the screen, pull it off, lay it down, and then we can work on it and try to tighten up those.
And it makes it really snug to the wall too, because we're talking, it's a really, really short distance from the little mount piece. And then once you put it on there, it's literally sliding it on the wall down onto the mounts. It's really, really nice way to do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as like the overall build quality, how would you say?
I'm super impressed with the build quality. There's even more that, so on certain sizes, they also give you a center brace. But they went so far as to actually cover that and the velvet as well to protect the back of the screen. I would also say the back of the screen is a light rejection material, so it's like a theater black that doesn't let light through. So they really, really thought really hard about how to construct it and how to put it together, and it's just very, very well built. I'm definitely impressed.
And it's pretty heavy too. I mean, it's not like a super light.
It's not super light, but I would also say it's actually lighter than my 70-inch older 1080p screen in there. So, but other than that, I mean, it's build quality. I'm super impressed. They did a fantastic job with the screen and the setup. Once you know it, it's like one of those things you go into you don't know until you start working on it. And I know someone commented, obviously 2 men don't read instructions, but we actually did. We just kind of we did miss a piece on there, but I would say the next time, if we had to do one again,
which we do,
yeah, we have another one. We have another one. Their higher end version to do.
Yeah, that's the Aurora. We'll be
Aurora.
That's a 100 inch.
Yeah, 100 inch. Yeah. So, I think that one will go a whole lot faster.
Yeah.
And we'll know what to check then to make sure that we have a nice fit too.
Yeah. And so a couple things that I really like about this particular screen, several things, is it's got a really thin border. It's called Nano Edge. And so with this, there's not a lot of bleed over. I know in my projection at home, sometimes there's like an inch that's kind of bleeding over onto I think I've got like a 3-inch border on mine. Yeah. And this thing's like super, like what, maybe a 1/2 inch or so, 3/4 of an inch, maybe?
3/4 maybe. I would say 1/2 inch.
Yeah. So it's real thin. So it looks super, super clean. The other thing I really like about it is they made it really easy to add that LED strip. So on the outer frame, they've already installed basically the backing for the Velcro. And so when you're adding the LED strip, I mean, it literally, you just unroll it and we just pushed it flat. And so that was probably the easiest thing to install.
They went so far as to put, there were these, I guess it's sticky corners, but they were formatted in a way to properly bend the strip
Sure.
so that there wasn't any kinks that way when it goes around a sharp edge or whatever. So they really, I mean, there was a lot of thought into it. They obviously made that themselves, fashioned those corners. But I know there's a couple things that we thought about afterwards from some discussions and all from some other folks. That'd be nice to have like a Wi-Fi unit in there to have, Alexa or Google or one of your home assistant type things to control the light screen without having to use the RF remote.
And so talking about the light, let me grab this. So a couple of you guys had asked questions in some of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of. You asked if, in regards to the remote control, can you change it any color? The answer is no. As you can see here on this particular remote, we just got on and off. We've got brightness controls, and then we've got various colors. There's probably 3, 6, 9, 12, about 15 different colors on here, just kind of pre-defined colors, anywhere from red to pink to yellow, orange, blue, green, white. And then you've got 4 buttons for flash, strobe, which I still think is dumb why you would have that, fade, and then smooth. Smooth is pretty cool. It just goes from each one of those colors, and it just gradually fades to those. And so if you're one of those guys that just likes to have that just kind of set up, almost like ambiance, even when you're not having anything, it looks really cool.
I had another friend of mine kind of stop over, and that actually was one of the things he's like, I wish I had that. And to me, I can have it or not have it. It's kind of fun when your other lights you can control with Alexa and match the color.
Right.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching something, I think I'm like Mike. I think I like it to be just what I'm seeing there. But my friend, he was like, I would totally watch it with that light back on there. So it's one of those preference things. But the fact that they thought enough of it to put it in there, and not just put it in there, but make it easy for you to install it on there. I mean, just a lot of thought going into it.
Sure. So now let's transition over to the projector. So the projector that was sent to us for review is the LG
HU85LA.
There you go. I always forget the first part. The I already forgot again. HU85LA. All right, cool. So, but that projector, this was my first experience and your first experience with an ultra short throw projector. And so initially, honestly, our thought was we knew where we needed to mount this screen.
Yeah, limited place that we could actually put it without, hanging it from the ceiling.
Sure. And so when you're looking right now, our eyes are in the lower third of the screen. Typically, whenever you mount a screen, you want to have your eyes in at least the lower third part of the screen, because if you have it any higher, you're going to be doing like this and looking up. It's just going to cause strain on your neck. It's just not optimal. And so we're basically definitely in the lower third looking at it. And the other thing is where the mounting bracket mounted, we had to go just basically about right above. We had to go right above the windowsill. So we were limited on how low we could mount that. And so when we mounted that, that determined where the screen was going to be.
Right. And I guess where I was saying where the mount goes is actually about 4 inches or maybe 5 inches below the actual top of that nano edge. So on the back of the frame, it's about 5 inches down. So you got to account for that too when you're mounting on where that mount will actually place. So I think that's one of the things that we had talked about before. It would have been nice to have a little bit more information on placement.
Sure.
So I kind of go from that. But once we did get it dialed in, I mean, didn't like that I had to take the feet off of my entertainment center that I built, but it still looks cool.
Sure. So you mentioned we had to take off the feet. Now, basically, like I mentioned, we mounted the screen, and then he had actually custom built an entertainment center that houses his Klipsch center channel and his Denon receiver, his Xbox One. And so we were like, man, this is going to be perfect. We're going to put it right on top of there, turn on the projector, went through the initial setup, and I knew ahead of time that it has some capability. There's basically 12 points that you can kind of adjust. And so I'm thinking, oh, that'll be great. Like literally, I mean, ideally you want to get it right in kind of like when I'm thinking of camera, you want to get it right in camera. You don't want to really have to adjust it after the fact as much as you can. So try to get it, where you need it without having to go into and do keystone and do those
So
kind of
as
manipulating.
much physical
Yes.
Adjustment
Correct.
and alignment as possible without having to do a digital
Correct.
correction.
So, but we knew we had that option. So when we first put it on there, we had it on top of his shelf, and we basically think about this: the ultra short throw, the closer you put it to the projection screen, the smaller the image is going to be. So this projector at, I think it's like 1.6 or 1.9 inches from the wall, you're going to get a 90-inch image. And so this is 110, so that means we got to back it away from the wall. And so we had to do it about, I think, about 5 inches roughly.
Yeah, like 5.5 is what we ended up being.
So from the projection screen to the front of the projector, there's about 5 inches there. And so we backed it out until the edge of the screen matched the right side and the left side. So that was great. The problem that we ran into, though, is the bottom of the image was probably what, 3 inches, 4 inches?
4 inches, yeah.
So it was a good distance above the bottom of the screen. And then we looked at the top of the screen, and the image was bleeding pretty much all the way up to his ceiling. So we're like, okay, so what do we do now? So there's adjustment feet on the bottom, so that will angle the screen. But what we found, angle the projector. But what we found is, of course, if you start angling the projector, now it does a funky keystone, and so that wasn't going to work. And so we racked our brains and we went through the menu settings. And so one thing I'm used to with a standard projector and some of the higher end projectors is you have what they call lens shift. So lens shift is when you have an actual physical lens that actually moves inside the projector. So you can kind of position it. Let's say your projector isn't mounted exactly centered with your screen. You can actually shift that the image over to left, right, up, and down. So with a short throw, ultra short throw projector, at least with this LG, there is no lens shift. So you physically have to move the position of the projector either up or down, closer to the wall, or further back. Like in your case, you can't really mount a projector right up here because of the ceiling fan. Maybe you have to offset it a little bit. And so with lens shift, it allows you to position inside the actual projector itself without moving the projector. You can kind of manipulate the image to the left, to the right, up and down. So I don't know if it's a physical limitation with a laser ultra short throw, but if there's a way in the future that manufacturers could include a lens shift, that would have made setup a whole lot easier, and we wouldn't have had to kind of dismantle his custom entertainment center. But in the meantime, if manufacturers could include some kind of calculator to where not only you knew how far back, let's say if you were wanting to do 110 inch, they can do the math on it. They should be able to, right, and say, okay, you're going to need to be 5.5 inches from the wall, and you're going to need to be, let's say, 18 inches below the screen or something like that.
And I would say, too, these can be basically upside mounted on a ceiling, too. So they can be dropped down. So you would want above or below, to have that calculation so that you know where you can mount your screen in relation to where the mount or your entertainment center is.
Sure. And so if there is a calculator out there, man, definitely let me know down in the comments below. That would have been super helpful. And for other people that are looking for that, that would be a benefit to them. So some of the other things that we noticed with the projector is the magic remote. Is that what they call it?
Magic remote. Yeah.
So this is called the magic remote. Some things that I like about it. It feels incredible in the hand. It's just very ergonomic. It's got this really rounded kind of feel to it. It's got a cool scroll wheel. And as you can see here, if I move the scroll wheel up and down, it allows you to move the pointer just by moving the actual remote in your hand. Kind of like a Wiimote is what it...
A lot like a Wiimote.
Yeah. So it reminds me of like the Wii. And so it allows you to do that. And another cool thing that I thought was really nice was the fact that we were able to control his Xbox One with this. Now, that was when we plugged in the Xbox directly through HDMI into the projector itself. It was able to recognize that he had a Xbox One, and we were able to control it with that remote without having to download or install or plug in or anything. It just recognized
Yeah,
it.
it basically tossed up in the right-hand corner, it tossed up a notification that said, Xbox discovered. Magic Remote is now ready for use with that device. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what other devices at this point work with that, but I would assume it would probably work with just about anything.
Yeah, so that was pretty slick. Now, when we plugged the Xbox One into his Denon receiver and then came out of the Denon receiver via HDMI to the projector, we were not able to control it, at least in our testing. So that may be a functionality of ARC. I'm not sure, what actually allows you to control that. I wouldn't think it would be ARC, but anyway, so that was kind of slick. So I like the remote there. Maybe a couple other things. The look of it. What do you think about the look of it in your living room environment?
I think the look of it, the build quality of the actual projector is really nice.
Yeah.
Like the gray, I don't even know what they call that,
Like
but
a grill mesh.
just like
on
a
the front.
mesh on the front. It's really nice. I mean, in my setting, I would honestly have preferred it to be black, but it's still, regardless of that, looks really, really cool in here. I know one thing that we talked about was sound.
Yeah, sure.
Coming out of that, and what'd you think about our experience on that one?
So this projector, most projectors have some speakers in it, but usually they're just really dinky speakers. But this one actually has some nicer, kind of higher end speakers made by Harman Kardon. So I was really curious, how do they sound? Because some of you guys may be wanting to put a ultra short throw in your home, and maybe you don't have big speakers. Maybe you don't have a setup like Derek has or like I have in my home theater. And so maybe you're just wanting to put this in and see how it sounds. So the first thing we tested out was music. Honestly, it was pretty bad.
Not really good at all.
Yeah, it just was. And again, okay, so partially I'm pretty biased to really nice quality speakers. So that, that has some bearing on it, but honestly, they just weren't that good. It reminded me of a sound bar without a subwoofer.
I would say for audio, I honestly prefer my other Echo devices. It was
okay.
It was just okay, and I prefer, if I were to listen to just music, I would prefer to use a device like that.
Sure.
Now, completely different story. Watch a movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, still the bass was not there, but we got a more full kind of environmental sound out of it. Voices were really clear.
Dialogue was very nice. Sure.
Pretty much a large range of tone, high pitch to low pitch. Just like I said, no real bass in it, but on par with pretty much any sound bar without a sub.
Sure. And so it's definitely going to be better than, say, a set of TV speakers, but it's not going to be the equivalent of maybe even a bookshelf speaker system with a designated center channel. But again, if you're just looking for something that is kind of in a way, plug and play, you don't have to have a receiver. You don't have to have, some other things. You could actually connect to it through your phone. So we were able to pull up music on my phone and play it directly through there. But again, wasn't too exciting, didn't sound really great, but it does have that capability, and it has an app that you can download and use the app as a remote control to control the unit. But honestly, this was so much more convenient than trying to go through the app and increase your volume and things like that. But what else? Anything else that you can kind of think of that we haven't covered?
Well, I know we talked about, I guess some people have asked about black levels and also brightness, like how bad does light affect it? And like I said earlier, I do have theater blackouts, but as far as brightness, my light can get very bright.
Like stupid bright. Like I'm looking up, closing my eyes, squinting, It's pretty dang bright.
So with that, just that on, I mean, it definitely does
It's washed
wash.
out. Sure.
But I would say after your eyes adjust from looking at that light, it's still watchable. Alexa, living room 25%. Alexa, living room 50%. Alexa, living room 75%. Alexa, living room 100%. I know this morning when I got up, I went and opened all of my curtains.
So that's actually ambient light,
Right.
and
So we're
natural
talking.
light.
This is about an 8-foot opening. So just natural lighting, and I have an opening on the other area over there. It was completely watchable, even when also turning that on. So I didn't really have a problem with that. It'd be interesting to see when we do the Aurora 8K
Sure.
version to see, because that's their big dog.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be really the ambient light rejecting.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see just how much difference that is. But I would, like I said, totally watchable even with the light on. Obviously, it's nice to be able to get it really dark, because that's when this thing just looks gorgeous.
It looks good. It really does look good. So yeah. So overall, I mean, just initial impressions. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's got some great application, whether it's the LG or a different brand or model. But I like the concept. I like the fact that you don't have to mount it in the ceiling.
Yeah.
You don't have to run an HDMI cable through your attic. That's a royal pain in the butt. So if you want a convenience factor, it is going to take you a little bit of time to set up, to calibrate, to get the like I mentioned earlier. There's 12 points that you can actually adjust. Now with that 12 points, to try to fine tune the image and lock it into that screen, you can only move those points down and up, basically towards the inner side of the projection screen. You can't make it bigger. And so
I would say a better way to describe that is cropping a picture.
Sure.
So
Okay.
you've got your frame. You can only
You can come in. Yeah, but you can't make it bigger. So the only way to make it bigger is to move the projector away from the screen to make it bigger. That's really about the only way. And so that's a physical limitation there. But anyway, it allows you, I mean, looking at this, we've got that nano,
the nano
edge.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no bleed on the wall whatsoever. And so Derek did a great job, even after I left, kind of tweaking it and fine tuning that.
Which actually, I want to point that out. A lot of people just mess with the front legs, but it actually took messing with the back legs to get that top to match.
Nice.
To where the keystoning worked out right. And I did want to go back. We mentioned the black level too.
Yeah.
He had a better word for it. Would you?
To me, I call it crushing. When I looked at the very first time we put in a video, I looked up there and I went, man, there was a guy that had black hair, and his entire hair was just solid black. I mean, we're talking jet black, which you would think, man, that's awesome. Black levels are just killing it. But it almost seemed like they were, in photography, we call it crushing the blacks, which is basically where there's no detail there. So what we don't know at this point is that just an out-of-the-box setting that we can kind of tweak with contrast and brightness and some of the other tonal controls in there? Or is it just not great at bringing out the details in those really dark areas? So that'll hopefully in the future video, we'll have a full review on this. We'll spend some more time with it. But just initially, just know that you're probably going to need to and want to go in there and kind of tweak some settings to adjust that to get it to the best picture quality that you can get.
And as far as comparison, obviously I'm coming from just an LCD version, but I've looked at OLED and stuff, and I would say quality wise, it's probably closer to like a top end QLED from Samsung or one of the like even the LG's OLED, Sony's OLED. It's very close to that image quality. I'm super impressed with that. I know when we played a little bit with the brightness and the contrast, and we'll probably go into that a little bit more. But it did have an effect on it.
Sure.
So I know there's some tweaks that we can do to see if maybe we can balance that out a little bit, get a little more detail out of those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I've got links to both of these products as well as a lot of screens from EluneVision. So check those out down in the description below and just kind of look and see if that might be a good fit for your home theater setup. Well, guys, hope you guys are blessed. Have a great week, and we'll catch you in the next video.